Alright, hey guys, what is up? What is up? I know it's been a while, but I wanted to wait until I see this chapter before I did any other Berserk content because I felt like this chapter was going to be important to adding to the story. Not because it's a new chapter, but obviously because it's a new chapter, but I felt something significant was going to come of it. And yeah, this chapter had a lot of significant information. So I'm going to call this video Griffith's Endgame. You know, in honor of a beautiful movie, Avengers Endgame, but also because Griffith's Endgame was announced in this chapter, and that's why it's very significant. So, I had to pull up the chapter on my phone before I dive deep into it, but it has, to me, a lot of content in this one, right? So, the chapter begins back in Falconia, where Griffith and, I'll say, the organization or the committee they're discussing their further actions and the spoils of war and everything, right? So you see Grumble talking about a military report regarding the plans for west of Falconia. The band of the Falcon Lancers have just about eliminated the ogre, troll, and beast threats, right? And you know, they're talking about what other steps they're gonna go ahead and take. And yeah, I know this chapter is not really action based and stuff, but it's a nice little political chapter that shows the intricacies that takes place in running a nation like this, and I guess we get to see where Griffith stands in all of this, as well as, you know, who's really running the show. So we're looking around now and we see that they're discussing rebuilding and restoring the society, and Griffith is here saying that the restoration of our kingdom and the continuing existence of mankind are one and the same. Please bear that in mind. He's telling these guys, like, you know, pretty much growing Falconia and mankind itself is an existence is one and the same, because what has been known to us before, but for sure we know for 100% now, is that other nations in the land, they're all being overrun by mythical creatures and everything. And Falconia is the only kingdom that stands amongst them, and they're not 100% plagued, as we saw, because they have the armies of Griffith. Now, on page 6 of this chapter, something very significant happened. They're speaking about Griffith, and they're saying that, you know, there's a lot of unrest with the people coming into the kingdom. So they were saying that maybe seeing Griffith, seeing the right of departing souls even once, you know, they will change their beliefs on, because, you know, you have all these people coming in, they have different beliefs and different systems, but they're all being forced to live together. It's like same thing in real life. You have like whites and blacks and Hispanics, everybody is forced to live all together, like something. Yeah, I'm again, I have nothing wrong with anybody, but you know, people from different cultural backgrounds, there's going to be a lot of conflict. But they're saying right now in the meeting, like maybe seeing Griffith's rights of the souls, departing souls, would help unite people from different religious beliefs and all this stuff, because it's like such a humble experience to see Griffith, like with the souls coming towards him and going off wherever. Now, I didn't think about it because I never really sat there and thought about it, but like, the right of departing souls might actually be something sinister, because Griffith, as we know, is a God-hand member, and him having souls come towards him, are those souls empowering him? Is he using them to create some sort of vessel, or what's the purpose of this right? Why does he feel the need to draw souls towards him? And these souls are coming from all the people who die on their way to Falconia, as well as people from other lands who are being killed by these mythical creatures. So obviously this is one part of Griffith's Endgame, because it's a very sinister thing to talk about, you know. And it's just like, I really didn't think about it until I saw it in this chapter. I was like, wait a minute, he has souls coming towards him. Yeah, he's feeding on these souls? What the frick is he doing, Griffith? Right? Anyways, the princess mentioned helping orphans and stuff, because, you know, especially people of the less fortunate, because they can't afford to take care of themselves. And a lot of the ministers were against this, but then Griffith says we should do it, because Griffith believes in democracy, and he believes that if you empower the people by giving them stuff, they later on could help build the country and nation up more. So this is a very interesting stance to me because, all right, you know, in our own society, there's Republicans and there's Democrats, right? Democrats have the same belief as Griffith does in terms of helping people gain education, gain all these other things, and, you know, in turn that should help build up your society because you're focusing on building up your people. But he also believes in just giving them stuff. But some of the arguments that are made by Republicans, and the only reason I know this, okay, all right, I'm military, so I work with a lot of people from both sides, and I'm not going to tell you my political agenda and stuff, but I'm just saying, one of the arguments Republicans make, in my humble opinion, I'm not trying to make it political, but it's going to be political because this is mentioned, is that by giving things to people without people having to earn it initially, it's kind of like, I guess, it takes away from people as a whole because it kind of make people like enslaved to the system itself. Like, for example, let's look at welfare, right? Essentially, this would be a form of welfare where you give people something and in turn, like, they feel committed to the system, and because they're gaining the stuff for free, they don't necessarily need to work to be within the system, right? But again, Griffith goes into more detail on this, so I don't think it's like that, because later on he mentions like kids 8, and then he's like, no, 10 years, right? Up to 10 years should be given a chance to go to school and stuff for free. And in our own society, we, by law, at 5 years of age and above, kids have to go to school, public school, right? Because they have to learn and develop and grow, which is not a bad idea. So, but I could see where the argument could be made that Griffith is trying to cut certain social statuses and stuff that exist in this world to help change it. Because some of the lords and ministers here, they were like, well, if you do that, it's going to mess up the hierarchy because, you know, you're letting these common folk learn how to read and write and stuff. But Griffith he's a visionary, you know, he's seeing 5-10 years down the road. He's like, no, if you empower people, you could have people who are engineers, architects, all these things. You empower your citizens, you empower your kingdom, because if you have all these minds come together, you could have someone who's common invent something that's, you know, great, you know. So Griffith is definitely ahead of his time in this world, and it's very apparent in the way he speaks, in the way he sees things, that he has a long vision. But again, I could see sorry, the drilling there. But I could see where the argument can be made where, from a Democratic standpoint versus Republican standpoint, like they'd be like, oh, if you do things like that, you're kind of like trying to control people more. But anyways, not making it political, but it is becoming political. But then, you know, Griffith says, for us to survive, we must prosper. But more importantly, he goes into this whole spiel about all this stuff. But then he wants to create a kingdom similar to, alright, in ancient times, Emperor Gastric stood at the heart of this land. He built an empire spanning the continent. So Griffith is trying to attempt to do the same thing. Let us attempt this undertaking. We build the territory of man, a second empire. Now, me and Rush, we always talked about the fact that the Skull Knight may not be a good character. This little speech by Griffith here makes me think that, again, the Skull Knight might have a hidden agenda. And also that this empire that the Skull Knight was building may not have been as good as we thought. Because let's look at everything, right? When we first saw semblance, we first saw pieces of this legendary empire that just disappeared. We saw that underneath the city, there was a lot of skulls with the brands on them. So we know for a fact that the citizens of this empire was sacrificed at one point or another. Now, All we know that the only person that exists from this empire is the Skull Knight, right? And Griffith is attempting to do the same thing that the Skull Knight did when he was Lord Gistrick. This cannot be a coincidence. Why is this all happening? I have a theory for you guys, and this is gonna sound kind of crazy, but I believe that Griffith is really planning to become, well, he's already essentially king of man, but I think he's trying to become a full-fledged god or recreate the earth in his own image, because he is purposely, again, the world is as it is, right? Except for Falconia. Falconia is protected. And it's like he's purposely rallying everybody up in the world, because guess what? If you want to live, you can't live in the regular world because there's mythical creatures. So everybody has to come to Falconia. And then everybody sees these rites and stuff because people are dying as they're trying to get to Falconia for safety, right? So you see him doing these things with his souls, but for all we know, he's gathering these souls to empower himself more and more, to create some, or to bring the god hand to the real realm or something. And then he's talking about creating this second empire. And look, right, it's on my phone, but you guys will see it behind me too, or whatever. This is bolden. It's not like a mini stuff. It's like, let us attempt this undertaking. We build the territory of man, a second empire, you know? This guy is like legitimately trying to do this crazy stuff. So it cannot be good, because remember, he is the devil incarnate. As pretty as he looks in these chapters, as pretty boy as he is, this guy's a demon. So we cannot support Griffith in anything he does, because he's a bad guy. So after the discussions, we saw that, you know, one of the ministers he said he himself was corrupted. He's like, to lead a country and its people, you need a fantastical vision. We are all of us drunk on the illusion that man so skillfully weaves, right? Again, Griffith is very charismatic, but you cannot fall for his lies. The devil, you cannot fall for his lies, right? You know, like, Griffith has a hidden agenda because he's a God Hand member. And let's us, like, I hate to bring it up, but let us remember what Femto did. If he's willing to do that to his best friends and his, you know, his co-workers and allies, people who came to save him, you know what he has planned is so sinister, so heinous, that it cannot be good for any empire, any country, any land, any world, nothing like that. He is Thanos without the scary purple look. You know what I mean? He's charismatic, he's intelligent, and he is planning something so sinister that's going to shake the foundation of the world that Berserk lives in. And in the final pages of this chapter, we saw that Griffith was there messing with his hair, and he's like, of course this night will be, and then he disappears, right? So it is quite obvious that he's transformed into the Moonlight Boy. And this is significant because that means the next chapter we should most likely finally see what's going on with Guts and Casca. And this is very, very significant too, because if Casca is going crazy, or if something with the thorns around the heart and stuff is controlling her, the Moonlight Boy might come there and whisk her away to Falconia. This would be crazy. And either way, something significant is going to definitely happen in the next chapter, and I cannot wait, because I do not think Guts and Casca are going to have a happy, joyous reunion. I think something bad is about to happen. Moonlight Boy might be able to you know, subdue her or whatever, but then she might be whisked away, and then Guts will have to figure out what to do from there. Because again, we talked about this. At this point in the story, right now, there's no motivation for Guts to continue on if Casca's mind is fine. You know, he will be done. He'll be like, okay, Casca is back. I love her. Let's just stay here. It's peaceful. Let's just try to, you know, move from this point. But then if, you know, Casca is like freaking out, so like, oh my god, what's all this rage and stuff, and she is a spawn of Griffith because of whatever he did to her heart, and they couldn't break the curse, whatever. And then the Moonlight Boy comes there and she's whisked away by the boy, then Guts has a new mission. I have to go find her in Falconia, and he would be driven to this point. So yeah, you guys tell me what you think. Comment below. Like, I thought this chapter was interesting. It's a little bit slow in terms of like fighting and action, but it was very revealing in some of the major points, and we stand to see the backstory through Griffith's eyes. He knows about this kingdom that existed before, this large kingdom and continent. Obviously he's been exposed to the God Hand member, so he knows about the hidden agenda of what King Gastric was trying to do, or the Skull Knight was trying to do back at this point. Maybe it's similar to something that happened in like Full Metal Alchemist, where the king wanted to become a god, and you know, in order to do that he had to sacrifice 1,000 people or whatever, and he became essentially a, like, you know, immortal and stuff. Not the king, but you know, the homunculus guy. And you know, maybe but Griffith might be trying to do this on a grandiose scale. Like, he might be trying to bring back the idea of evil, or becoming a god himself, like the true Messiah. Because right now the God Hand members are like, as we mentioned, like a genie in a bottle, because they are activated by the Behelit, and then the Behelit allows the person who's using it to get a wish to become apostle as long as you sacrifice something. And then the God Hand members have to come and just be, oh yeah, you're good to go, here's your powers, good luck. You know, so I see Griffith trying to break away from this type of chains. Like, he doesn't want to be ruled by other people. He wants to be king of everything. He wants to be empowered. He wants to be a god. So he's just moving very sinister like. And one thing I really like about the Berserk series is like, they really give you a lot of pieces of what's going on behind the minds of the good guys and the bad guys. And I mean, it's very subtle, because again, we don't know exactly what his end game is, but this is definitely pieces of his end game. But we're starting to see Griffith's true intentions unfold in front of us. So again, hey, thank you for watching the video. I know this was a little long and a little crazy.